everybody, it's Elizabeth, and I'm here to do book stacks for Halloween themed graphic novels that we have here at the Noonan Carnegie Library. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is Rainbow Rowell's Pumpkinheads. And this is illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. This was a really cute story that focuses on two best friends. We have Josie and we have Deja. And they have been best friends every fall for 4 years running, all through their high school careers, when they worked together at Dennock's world famous Pumpkin Patch and Autumn Jamboree. So they worked there every fall from September 1st through Halloween, and that's where they met the first year that they worked together. And they've become best friends over this time. And it's gonna be their last night, Halloween night, the senior year of high school, and they're gonna be going off to college after that. So Josie, he's decided that he's very sad about this. That he's gonna miss his best friend, he's gonna miss working at the Pumpkin Patch, he loves everything about it. And despite the fact that they've worked there every year, they have not enjoyed all of the things that the Pumpkin Patch has to offer. So Deja suggests that instead of being sad and melancholy about this, that they go out and they do all the things that the Pumpkin Patch has to offer, that they enjoy all the treats, all the rides, go through the corn maze, do all the stuff together. And that's exactly what they do. And you get to follow them on their little adventures and learn things about them as they learn more things about each other. And it's just a really great fall Halloween story about friendship and about the things that we mean to each other and what things are important. And I just really liked that one. I enjoyed it. I suggest you read it. We're going to have that here at the Carnegie available for checkout. So Pumpkinheads, Rainbow Rowell. Faith Erin Hicks is the illustrator on that. It was really an awesome read. The next one I have in our graphic novel collection is Witchy, and this one is by Ariel Slamet-Riez, and she does both the illustration and the story in this one. This one is sort of a fantasy novel, but graphic novel, so lots and lots of good illustrations in it. And it is about a young girl named Nynaeve, and in her world, in her kingdom of Highland, all of the people have magic of one level or another, and the way they know how strong your magic is by how long your hair is. The longer your hair is, the stronger your magic is, and the people with the strongest magic get conscripted into the Witch Guard, who work for the kingdom to try to keep everybody safe, kind of like the police. Now, Nynaeve, she doesn't want to go into the Witch Guard because the kingdom of Highland at some point ended up causing her father's death, so she has some resentment. And so she disguises her hair to be shorter than it really is to try to avoid getting conscripted into the Witch Guard. And we get to follow Nynaeve on her adventures with her friends and their various reasons for wanting to go in or not go into the Witch Guard, how they find out whether or not she has more magic than she's letting on, and what she ends up doing in that situation. And it's a really great adventure story. It's got lots of good lessons in it. It's a really interesting read, and the illustrations are just amazing throughout. And Ariel Slamet-Riez, she did the illustrations as well as the writing in this story. Very good story. So the next one I have is The Girl Who Owned a City. And this one is O.T. Nelson and Dan Jolie for the story. Joelle Jones did the illustrations. This one was really neat. It's a post-apocalypse, but it's a little bit different. So in this one, a virus has killed off all the adults, and so it's just children left. And they're trying to figure out how to survive. And they're trying to figure out how to keep each other safe and figure out ways to live past mere survival. So at first we've got Lisa and her little brother, and Lisa is the girl who owned the city. And she's located in a town in Illinois called Glenbard. And in Glenbard, she and her little brother and various of their friends gather together, and they learn how to scavenge for food, and they start gathering supplies and figuring out ways to live a little bit better than just mere survival, and start making plans. And they've got various children with different skill sets, and you get to follow their story as they figure all these things out. And then they also get invaded at one point by children from other areas, and children from within Glenbard as well, who want to take what they've built. And you get to see what they do about that. So this is really a neat story, and it's about strength and what you might see these children be able to do without any adults to take care of them. So this is really an interesting story, and it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the illustrations in this one as well. Joelle Jones did these illustrations. You can see some of these. very well drawn. Really good story. Okay, so the next story we have is American Vampire, and this one weaves together two stories, one by Scott Snyder and one written by legendary author Stephen King. And in Stephen King's story, we have the original Skinner Suite, who is a cowboy. He's the original American vampire. He's faster and stronger than any of the other vampires. And in Scott Snyder's story, we have a 1920s young woman named Pearl, who was turned by some European-style vampires, and she actually becomes a sort of an activist, an anti-vampire activist who fights against the evil vampires. And so that's an interesting story. And they're woven together throughout this, and that's illustrated by Raphael Albuquerque. So it's really neat to see the way these two stories interact with each other in this one. American Vampire. So two American vampires in a story woven together. That is really a very interesting read. And the illustrations in this are very awesome. It's very much a horror story, very much also a hero story, just like you would expect from Stephen King and anybody he takes under his wing. So Stephen King, Scott Snyder working together, and illustrated by Raphael Albuquerque. I recommend it highly. The next one we have is called Revival, and it's written as a rural noir by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. And this one's kind of neat. It's a rural Wisconsin city, an officer named Dana Cypress. And in this city, everybody who's dead just one day comes back to life. But it's not your traditional zombie story. So in this one, when they come back to life, they just come back as themselves. They're not rotting, they're not scary, at least not traditionally scary. What becomes scary is the unknown about this as the story progresses. And at some point, there is a gruesome murder, and Dana Cypress has to figure out whether it was somebody that came back to life that committed this murder, whether it was somebody that was already alive that committed this murder, why was this murder committed in this little town. So with any story like this where you've got something that unusual where people just have come back to life, it creates all of the same kinds of drama and chaos you might expect. And this one was really, really neat. The illustrations in this are really good as well. Mike Norton did these illustrations. You can see. This one was really interesting. Very dark, very deep, very complex storyline. Really enjoyed it. This is the introduction to a whole series, so this follows a whole series that you might be interested in getting involved in. And our last one in our book stack today is called Greek Street, Blood Calls for Blood. And in this one, we have all of our Greek myths, so from the Iliad and the Odyssey and the Oedipus Rex and Orestria, all of those Greek myths, Greek gods, the Greek heroes, but they're rewritten in modern day London, Soho. So this is really interesting. So the first one, this one is volume 1, and it follows Eddie, who accidentally sleeps with his mother and then kills her. So Oedipus Rex. So we have these rewritings of Greek mythology, and then he meets a young girl named Sandy who can see the future and can tell the future, but no one ever believes her. So this is a sort of a mixture of Oedipus Rex and Cassandra out of Greek myth in this first volume, but also very gritty, very Soho, very dark, and placed in London. So the illustrations in this are really awesome too. David Gianfelice did the illustrations in this. Peter Milliken did the writing. The story is very intriguing. I think that anybody who has an interest in Greek myth would really like this one. And those are my book stacks for our Halloween week this year. Thank you so much for joining me for that, and I hope that you guys will come check these out, these graphic novels that we have. We are expanding our graphic novel collection. Please do follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Also find us on our Facebook page, which is noonandcarnegie.com, and I hope to see everyone soon. Thank you so much, and happy Halloween.